happy Friday, everybody. Jesse Montano here. Another fun week around the NHL. Lots of news even being broken today. So let's get into my trending topics for this week. Starting, of course, with the Stanley Cup final. Game 2 is tonight. Then we'll have a couple nights off after this as the series shifts back to Florida. But what a game 1 we got. The Edmonton Oilers win on the power play in overtime. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Connor McDavid to Leon Draisaitl. And for the first time in these past 2 Stanley Cup finals, the Edmonton Oilers carry a lead in the series. They're up 1-0. Florida Panthers are going to be looking to get a split tonight before the series shifts back to sunrise. Earlier this week, the Avs got Brock Nelson extended. This was a bit of a surprise for some folks. We did report last week here at Guerrilla Sports that there was mutual interest between Brock Nelson's camp and the Colorado Avalanche to keep the 33-year-old forward in Denver beyond just what we saw after the trade deadline and into the postseason last year. But again, it's a 3-year deal, so you're taking him through his age 36 season. Really not that bad, and I think a full season of Brock Nelson with a full offseason for him to get prepared, being a little bit more comfortable, knowing what to expect, and maybe a full season with some consistent line mates in Gabe Landeskog and Val Nichushkin. I think Brock Nelson is going to far exceed what we saw him do last year post-deadline. The Boston Bruins were, an emphasis on were, we're coming back to that in a moment, the final team looking to fill a head coaching vacancy here coming into the beginning of the week. Well, they got that bit of business done by hiring Marco Sturm to take over behind the bench for them. Marco Sturm played 5 years with the Bruins in 302 total games. He spent 4 years with the LA Kings as an assistant coach and has spent the last 3 years in the AHL with the Ontario Reign as their head coach. The Boston Bruins get the former Bruin back behind the bench and remove that interim tag from Joe Sacco, moving him back to an assistant coach. Like I said, they were the final team looking to fill a head coaching vacancy. Right as it looked like all 32 teams had filled up their benches, the Dallas Stars make the announcement that we thought would have come a few days earlier, but they do announce today Pete DeBoer has been relieved of his duties as the head coach of the Dallas Stars. He was there for 3 years, took them to 3 straight Western Conference finals. Pete DeBoer has earned himself a reputation of being a coach that you bring in to help get a team that you think is already good further in the playoffs. The problem with Pete DeBoer, though, he has not found a way to get any of those teams across the final finish line and win a Stanley Cup. And now this is the second team in a row that he has really shaken the trust of the team and really soured his relationship with the team's franchise goaltender. We had talked at the beginning of the playoffs that had Dallas lost in round 1 that maybe there was going to be some talk about Pete DeBoer's job security. But when he got the Stars back to the Western Conference Final, you probably figured that his job was safe. I really do think Pete DeBoer lost his room and lost his job in Game 7 with the decision to pull Jake Ottinger just 7 minutes into the game, and then doubling down on the decision after the game and really kind of pinning a lot of it on Jake Ottinger, despite saying that he wasn't going to do that. With pretty much every other team having filled their head coaching vacancies, there is a good to fair chance that we see the 25-26 season start without Pete DeBoer behind the bench of any NHL team. Now, that's not to say that there won't be a team that moves on from their head coach in season and Pete DeBoer could take that job, but I do think that it is more likely than not right now the season starts and Pete DeBoer will be unemployed. He does have 1 year left on his deal with the Dallas Stars, so he'll at least be getting paid from them. And bringing it back here locally, the Colorado Avalanche did announce this morning that forward Logan O'Connor did have successful hip surgery, and that recovery period is looking at 5 to 6 months. Now, look, there's part of me that says, hey, you got the surgery out of the way. In the offseason, you're going to get a lot of that recovery time eaten up now here in the summer. But you do have to pause and remember that Logan O'Connor had his season last year ended by needing hip surgery that kept him out for the remainder of the regular season and into the playoffs before being ready to go coming back into training camp. We don't have any official word yet on if this is surgery on the same hip or the other hip or what it is, but you do have to be a little bit concerned that 2 years in a row now, Logan O'Connor has needed major hip surgery that's taking him out of the lineup for 5 to 6 months. This is something that we'll keep an eye on all summer. We'll bring you guys any updates as we get them. But as of right now, Logan O'Connor will not be ready for training camp and will not be ready to rejoin the lineup until close to December. That's going to do it for today, guys. Like I said, Game 2 tonight of the Stanley Cup Final. Oilers-Panthers, I know I'll be watching. Looking forward to a nice, relaxing weekend here as we had a couple days off from the Stanley Cup Final. But we'll be back at it next week with more trending topics around the NHL.